Let's get started. All right. Welcome to the Presidential Essential Podcast, a platform dedicated to engaging in meaningful conversations with individuals from various walks of life. Here we explore valuable insights on life challenges and the transformative stories that have shaped their journeys. Remember, it's nothing political, but everything spiritual. My name is Blessed Branco, president of Branco Brand, and I'm glad to have you, Larry Pender, join on our podcast today. Today's episode 7, is titled Starting Small, Thinking Big. And today's episode is essentially for anyone with a dream, no matter how small it may feel right now. Our theme is, like I said, is starting small, thinking big. We'll explore how faith can carry you through the struggles of building a business and help you think beyond your current circumstance. Our guest is the Larry Pender, and he's a local entrepreneur who's built a thriving business from the ground up. He'll share his journey, what it's like to step into the unknown, the roadblocks that he's faced, and how faith became a steady anchor through it all. And if you ever have wondered, or if you wonder if you had a small idea could grow into something meaningful, this episode is for you. Let's get ready to be inspired and challenged to trust God for bigger things. Are you ready?
We're ready. Hey, Bless.
Great to have you.
Enjoy being invited to events like this.
Absolutely.
I wish I would have known more of this when I was in my youth.
Yeah.
It is important to see people that have 20, 30, 40 years more experience than you do in the marketplace. And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I spent 2 weeks ago, my wife and I went down to San Jose del Cabo.
Wow.
With leadership of an organization that I work with, that you met, Dr. David Humphrey.
Absolutely.
And spent
Incredible guy.
With people that have different business experience and a life experience and further on than I am where I want to be in business. Yep. And you get to interact with them.
Absolutely.
So, and then when I ask you, hey, what are we going to talk about in today's episode? You want to say what somebody who has some wisdom in business and life can bring to the younger generation.
Absolutely.
And to sum that up, and if I could put that in one sentence it's hard to put in one sentence, but be open. Be open to hearing people that have gone down the road before.
So how would you define the concept of thinking big?
And my mentor had me read the book Magic Thinking Big by David Schwartz many years.
So if you don't know that book, make sure you order it on Amazon or something.
Huge eye opener for me.
Wow.
To be quite honest with the audience out here. From my background, from where my parents came from, we were all very self-employed.
Wow. Yeah, share with us a little bit of your background, Larry, like for the people that don't know.
Focused.
Okay.
And trying to do everything ourselves. Basically, I grew up in Santa Barbara, California.
Wow.
My parents were in the seafood business at the time.
Okay.
I learned later in life that myself and my dad have a very commonality, and I see it in my son.
Nice.
Very independent, and we don't like sitting in cubicles working for corporations. We want to run our own show.
That makes sense.
And so when I was 3 years old, my parents moved from the Pomona Valley, Santa Barbara, and my dad actually became a commercial abalone diver, of all things.
Okay, and that's interesting. Commercial abalone diver.
Because he loved the outdoors.
Yeah. Okay.
He had worked for a bank.
I don't think I've ever heard that position before, but I learned something new. So yeah.
Every day we learn anything.
Absolutely.
So in that journey, growing up in Santa Barbara, my parents originally was a commercial fisherman. Then they opened a wholesale seafood business that processed seafood from all the other fishermen.
Wow.
Then they opened up a restaurant, had multiple retail fish market outlets, and that's the environment I grew up.
Wow, got it.
When I was 13, my dad, very smart move by him, is he put me in the kitchen with the other cooks. He didn't try to teach me how to do it. Those guys teach me how to run a kitchen.
Did you have a favorite dish that you like making?
I always loved that. One of the things that restaurant had, my dad was very good with recipes. great fishing chips, charbroiled seafood. I always love charbroiled
Ooh.
seafood. Very specific, like the white sea bass that was caught off.
You're gonna have
Crazy.
You're gonna have to make me some. I think last week I went actually fishing. Almost caught a sea bass, by the way. So yeah, you gotta give me some charbroiled sea bass. That would be great.
We'll work on that.
So what exactly does it mean to start small, in your opinion?
You gotta start where you're at.
Okay.
One of the things I see in a lot of my interactions with people through business networking groups is there's a lot of people that have this idea that they're going to take their idea, find some angel investor, and they're going to hand them $20 million and come to fruition.
Okay.
The reality is that works about that much percentage of the time.
Wow.
The reality is you need to take your idea, what you have now, and what can you do tomorrow? What can you do the next week?
Wow, that's interesting. That actually leads into my next question, which is how important is it having the big picture mindset starting small?
It's important to know where you're going, but I have, and you've probably run across people like this too.
Yep.
They're so focused on the big picture down the road,
okay,
that they forget to do the step of, hey, tomorrow you got to take the trash out, and you got to order your supplies for your next week.
So kind of like, what's the next step? What's the next stairs?
Right.
Step to the stairs. Okay.
What can I do?
Staying present in a sense, all right?
If you ask any successful business person, are they happy with where they're at? Or is there more room for growth, or are they happy where they're at? 99.9% will say no, because they know they can grow their enterprise bigger. They can have more impact on other people.
Okay.
There's always something they can do to help other people out. But to do that, we all have to start step by step. The reality is adding another customer to your customer base.
Okay.
Maybe expanding a product line, or doing the steps necessary to do that. All of a sudden, if you are so focused on saying, hey, I'm going to have an international, multifaceted brand that is doing $10 billion worth of business.
Right.
Great vision.
Right.
Help a lot of people. But the people and organizations that have done that started out, hey, they made a sale to a cup, they made a sale to a customer.
Okay. They
started building a network. They started building relationships that then will eventually can go to that large stuff. But you have to do the how did the guy say it? Sometimes you have to embrace the suck of the grind of building businesses, which is the day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
It's very cool to look at the catamarans on the Caribbean.
Yeah.
To get there, you got to start with the daily grind.
So you mentioned something a second ago about, instead of thinking of I'm going to have a $1 billion industry. So like, what strategies can help entrepreneurs avoid being discouraged by limited initial resources?
That's just the reality is you have to get over the limitations and the thought process that you have.
Okay.
And look at what you actually can do. What can we do?
Okay.
If I have this iPhone only and I need to make a sale, I'm going to sell what I have.
Okay.
And then move on to the next point from there.
Was there a moment like where you did that in the beginning, and can you share a little bit about, like, did you start off with just maybe, I don't know, one printer and then you made it work with that, and like a strategy? Yeah.
I'll give some perspective on that. 25 years ago, I got a case of what I call the cubicles.
Okay.
Corporate world in my early 30s.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be out selling. I wanted to run my own show.
Right.
So my wife and I took a bunch of money and we started a commercial honeybee business.
That's like natural honey.
Honey from the honeybees, but what we found is the crop pollination for the farmers in the Ventura and Santa Barbara County areas.
Wow.
Very cost-effective business for us.
Brilliant.
And building a business from scratch, this is 2002, my wife and I took about $60,000 out of her savings account.
Wow. Okay.
Put the pucker factory in your wife.
Right. more risk.
Ladies,
Yeah.
more risk. And the wife is going, are we going to eat tomorrow?
Right.
So we started that venture, and I bootstrapped it from the beginning of taking what I had and what I knew. I partnered and met with other beekeepers, and went to breakfast with people, had coffee with people, but learned some basics of how to grow that business, and which we did over a 10 or 15 year period.
Okay.
Today, that company has 6 full-time employees and part-time employees.
Brilliant.
It does very well. But what happened over time, I was trying to do, as I mentioned, very self-employed.
Absolutely.
I found myself being so
It kind of grew into that entrepreneurial environment per se. Yeah.
One of the things, a little definition to be just a little clarity for the audience. For anyone that's read any of Robert Kiyosaki's books, like Capital Models, where he puts the employee, self-employed business owner.
Thank you for recommending that book, by the way. Yeah. For those who don't know, Larry is kind of like a mentor in a sense to me. He's always been pouring into me and telling me, recommending what books to read. So I really appreciate you for that as well. It definitely helps. Yeah.
What happens is, I think there's a difference between a self-employed person and a self-employed person. Your plumbers, your contractors, they're do-it-yourself people. I want to do it faster, better, cheaper than someone else.
Okay.
And that was my mindset. I wanted to run my business and do it my way. The entrepreneur businessman is thinking more of systems and how can I start something and then scale it to a larger scale.
Okay, so systems. Okay, systems and scaling.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Systems. And it's a process I had to go through, learning what the difference is. I remember many years ago, I was listening to an audio, and this for the audience. Sometimes if you're having a challenge reading somebody's book, it's not jumping out to you, listen to an audio of that author talking about their book, because you hear the dialect, the structure of their talking.
So you're saying don't read the audio book of that book, but you're saying listen to their complete summary of the book and how they talk about it. Oh, I see.
That happened with me with Kiyosaki.
Oh, I see.
First, when I heard him, I read his book, and it's like, okay, that's good. I heard him talk
about it,
brought the book
to life. God. Oh, okay.
The communication, the way you communicate.
Okay.
We communicate in multiple ways.
Yeah, there's some books that I read today that, like, I go back and read it again, but I never. I mean, don't get me wrong. Actually, I do watch some interviews of that author and just kind of see, but I never thought of it that way. So I probably can get through more books this year with that process, actually, instead of me spending, like, a book is supposed to take 1 month for me to finish. I take 6 months because I really want to grasp everything, right. So that definitely helped me as far as maximizing my time. So I appreciate that.
Full side note there: if you're trying to keep score on how many books you read, you won't gain the wisdom factor.
Okay.
Like you're doing, the using of these tools, books, interviews with people, talking with people.
Right.
You have to let the time of our subconscious and our mind has to absorb it and grow. We all do it at different speeds.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's not necessarily the volume of information coming in; it's the quality of what you're studying.
Got it. Okay.
Like the book everyone's heard of, Think and Grow Rich.
Right. By Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon Hill. That was a very tough book for me to read because it is almost an engineer's guide to a process.
Got it.
The Carnegie fast.
Got it.
Napoleon Hill articulated out like the 6 steps to developing a definite major purpose. For myself, I really, really had to study. I've read that book multiple times, but when I read it, it was over a 6-month, 8-month period.
Wow.
Where I'll read a couple pages, I'll have other readings going on, and we read and
I try to read at least 15 minutes a day. Yeah, at least 15 minutes a day.
When you have no time, and then if you're traveling in your car,
just grab it.
I'll mention another author here, which I heard this author has passed away since passed away a while ago. A guy named Og Mandino.
Okay.
Wrote a book originally. His first book came out in 1966.
Okay.
Foreign, called The Greatest Salesman in the World.
Oh, I think, is this one of the books that you... Oh, no. You actually, it was someone else recommended this, The Greatest Salesman.
He wrote about 21 books in his lifetime.
Wow.
It's called The University of Success.
Wow.
But he talked about our automobile as we travel around as our University of Success. So how are we
automobile is our of success. You said
University of Success.
Okay.
Because as we're going, if I'm traveling from here to, like, it was the sunshine today is above the clouds in Los Angeles. Usually it's the other way around. We're seeing a lot of sunshine.
Right.
It was a little bit
rainy. It was a little rainy today.
Rain day.
Not common in California.
Or as something show, this is everybody trying to imitate Seattle.
Yeah.
Do it very
Right. Yeah, we're currently in Beverly Hills, California at the moment, so it's a little drizzle, but it's not that bad.
Using that time to listen to an audiobook, listen to an author, listen to a podcast.
Wow.
Listen to the presidential podcast, of course.
Thank you.
That's what we're supposed to
do. Thank you.
So that's how we keep sharp. So
absolutely.
Plus all those, sometimes it's we have a large vision of where you want to go, but we have to be willing to do the small steps. Small steps, okay. Small foundational steps. I mean, you'll hear it in that. You'll hear the coach say it every year. You got to get back to the fundamentals and figure out what your fundamentals are.
Okay.
And go do those fundamentals.
Well, so now that you bring it to that, what are some obstacles you face starting small, and how do you think thinking big help you overcome that?
With our commercial honeybee business, so originally when I put that business plan together and start executing, we had some money, we invested in some beehives and some trucks, and we started generating, but I wanted to scale that business up.
Right.
So I went through the traditional business route of getting like a business loan. And I got educated that it is very tough to get a business loan on honeybees.
Wow.
And I learned why. For most of the farming industry, if you have a crop like the avocado tree or an almond tree or a peach tree, it has a foundation in the ground that cannot be moved. So the banks see it like a building. The building has a foundation.
Okay.
The honeybees do not have a foundation in the ground. They can be moved anywhere. So the banks don't see it as an asset that they want to invest in because they can't control it.
I see.
It can disappear rather easily.
Okay. So
I had to go and find out about some private money outside our traditional banking system.
Okay.
That actually, it's interesting.
Like credit unions or?
No, private individuals.
Oh, private. Okay.
And what's interesting, and this is a note for everyone out there, always be open to where you're at and the people around you, and start conversations, because you never know who you're going to meet, where you're at.
Yeah.
I happened to be at a donut shop in Ventura, California around this time, just taking a little break, having a cup of coffee. Started talking to this older gentleman that was sitting next to me. And he said, "Hey, what are you doing out here?" And I explained the situation. He says, "Hey, I have a good friend that specifically invests in companies like you, like what you're doing."
Wow.
And it opened up a door that solved a situation we were facing. Subsequently, we helped expand our business, paid that loan off. Yeah. It expanded from there. So sometimes those the answers come at places we don't expect them.
Wow. And where was that exactly? The where you met? Yeah, where you met the
Foster's Donut in Ventura, California.
Wow.
Right off Main Street.
Wow.
And I just happened to be there that day.
Wow.
At that time that gentleman was there. I mean, you and I met by chance.
Right.
At a small business expo.
In Pasadena,
California.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I noticed about Blessed when he first came up, one of I think the second question he asked me is, what 5 books do you recommend that
Yeah. I did.
And I actually have pictures in my phone of some of these key books. And
Absolutely.
we engaged and exchanged contact information.
Yeah.
But that's why you always have to be open to things that may not seem normal to you.
Absolutely. And open-minded for growth, right? All right. So we're gonna take a quick ad for 30 seconds. This is Branco Brand's Haviland box. Just like Tiffany & Co's is known for their iconic baby blue box, we're known for our green leather and gold box. Branco Brand is a men's luxury boutique. It is GOTS certified organic 100% cotton in our high-end jogger sets. It's RAP certified. It's also American grown cotton, no sweatshops, and windmill powered. So if you want to grab yourself a order for this Valentine's Day for your husband, your partner, Branco Brand would be the way to go. And everything is crafted at the highest quality and a great price. All right. Thank you.
Always got to have a good word from the sponsors. Always appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Good sponsors on top of
Great sponsors. All right, let's get back to it. So our next question, Larry, is how do you stay focused on long-term goals when immediate challenges demand your attention?
The urgency of the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, that is one of the toughest things. I can actually, I'm going to put 2 answers in here at once.
Okay.
When I first started working with my current coach and mentor, David.
Yes.
I've been in my honeybee business for about 12 years.
Okay.
Making good money,
right?
But I was working 80 to 100 hours a week.
Yeah.
Trying to do everything myself.
Sure.
And I was trying to identify about 10 hours a week to start building another business enterprise with David.
Right.
But I was having a tough time doing it.
Right.
Because I was trying to do everything myself.
Wow.
So called up David and said, hey, I'd like to get your input on how I can find a little more time in life.
Yeah. Wow.
So when he was in Southern California at the time, he was in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
About 3 weeks after that, he was down here in Southern California. We grabbed coffee and said, hey, explain a little bit about what you do in your business. I explained a little bit with the honeybees. We put the beehives on these farms to pollinate. They stay there for 2-3 months, and we move it to the next farm for the next crop, whether it be raspberries or blackberries.
Right.
But there's a percentage of those beehives that die off. We have to bring them back to our barn area, clean them up, and get them ready for the next.
Okay.
He said, okay. He said, well, how many guys are working for you currently? He said, at that time, 3.
3. Okay.
Farm labor guys. And he said, well, what do you have to pay those farm labor guys to do the work? You know, this is about 10 years ago. So it
right.
Started then at $15 an hour and went up to 20 at the time.
Okay.
Hopefully in respect, that goes from 19 to 28 currently in the current market.
Okay.
Which we're above minimum wage, but not $1 million a year. It's not.
Got it.
Puts a little perspective on it. So we were chatting a little bit more, and he looks at me and he says, hey, Larry, are you worth more than $15 an hour? And I said, darn right I am.
Mm-hmm.
I said, then why are you doing $15 an hour work in your business? Because I was sitting there cleaning all the boxes, doing all the repetitive work.
Okay.
And it was interesting. Our conversation went into the areas of the capital and the revenue of our business, how we use that to build our business. And myself as the owner, am I working inside the business or I'm working on the business, directing it?
Got it.
In reality, what
you're
doing is
allocation.
You manage, as a business owner, you manage bank accounts, logistics,
right,
and high-level policy, and then teach the people that work for you how to do what they're supposed to do and let them do it. And that was the tough part for me, letting someone else do work.
Yeah, you're like, this is...
I know the right answer. I'm the most efficient way.
Right.
And that was a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
It took me a couple of years to learn to delegate.
Wow.
Focus on where I need to work in my business.
Wow.
Now that also translates into distractions Because as I was going through that process of going from what I would call the self-employed mindset to the business
Yeah.
mindset, it's a process.
Right.
It's just like gaining wisdom, everything we do in business.
Absolutely.
You have to allow that.
Absolutely.
You will get NIOPed or sidetracked by the urgency of the moment at times.
Absolutely.
And
Okay.
you really have to watch your schedule. One of the things I definitely encourage a lot of business people, entrepreneurs, is in addition to your business ventures, you need to have a hobby. You need to do something else during the week for a couple, 4 or 5 hours, whether it's a Taekwondo class,
Yeah.
go playing some basketball,
Yep.
learning how to sail a boat, taking a self-defense course, whatever, something totally different than what you're doing. So you are forced to hit the off button on your device and focus on something
different. Got it.
What's interesting as you do that, and as you learn to do it more, I found as you're doing those other events, your subconscious mind is working on solutions to all your issues over here.
Absolutely. I've noticed that actually. That's so true. I do a lot of stuff on this, like when it comes to playing basketball, obviously fishing. I love playing tennis. And even karate, those little things. So it in a weird way, you notice that everything in life is actually connected, and just even allowing, let's say for example, my karate teacher, allowing him to teach me, break down everything. You literally, like you said, it really does give you the solution. So when it comes to like putting it back into your business or whatever your career is, you literally start to think about breaking it down to the point a 5-year-old can understand. And it's, wow, that's so profound. Okay, so how does building strong relationships contribute to scaling a small business into something big?
Everything to relationships.
Talk about it.
If you cannot sit around with 3 or 4 guys and have a conversation, sometimes about a tough, maybe it might be a tough subject, might be a political issue, might be a local policy issue, and if you cannot have a nice conversation with somebody that disagrees with you, you are going to have some serious challenges in business.
In life too.
In life.
In life too, yeah.
We're all a little bit different. We all have a different viewpoint. Share an interesting thing I've really learned in the last 5 years in my life. And it really relates to this, is our brains are designed to want to be right.
Yeah.
So the question is now, what comes in? What is right to our brain? Well, what is right is the first information we hear about a subject.
Okay.
A lot of us in our formative years, we heard things growing up as a child, whether about money, religion, spiritual.
Exactly.
I mean, I have a good friend that his mother had an issue with the Catholic Church, and he's never been to a church since that day in his life. He's now in his 60s. Because of something that his mom didn't understand fully, and just criticize, condemn, and complain about it, but that's gave him his world view on that subject.
So the environment sometimes where we come from can kind of shape our ideas about money, our ideas about our faith, our relationships, how we see life, how we even see relationships, how we see marriage. Some people grow up where marriage is valued. Some people grow up in where they're taught having multiple is also valued. So it's, and it's interesting you said that when you said we all think we're right. And, I was in church one day with one of my pastors, and he said something. He said, it might be right, but is it righteous?
Correct.
So it depends on, we all have a choice, but it depends on whether do you want to go towards God's standards or human standards. But remember, God's standards is undefeated, infinite. Our standards, it may last 4 or 5 years, but we've been defeated. So,
now, the next step to that
yeah.
is once we learn that our brains have the need to be right, that right is a lot of times the first thing you hear about a subject. How do we reprogram that? What I've learned is the only way I can have the perfect answer for you, and I can be right on you, say, Blessed, you just have to believe what I believe.
Right.
What are you going to do? You're going to put everything up and say, hey, the only way is for yourself or myself to ask ourselves questions.
Right.
Internal questions. Hey, why do I believe what I believe? Why do I believe that? And then as we get more wisdom in life, we look back, hey, this was a situation I saw in my childhood, my early teens. This is what I found with sports, different things.
Absolutely.
And as you ask yourself those questions, you go, is that belief serving me or not?
Not. Right.
And then you go, if it is not, you go, well, how do I want to replace that? And it takes time.
You know what? Let's even go into, I know you know, and I'm so glad I'm having this conversation with you, because I know the next question of what you're saying is literally going to lead right into when we're asking ourselves questions, who can we get perspective from, right? So my next question would be, what role do mentors and advisors play in helping you achieve a think big mindset?
The most important part, they're typically a person with a bigger vision than we are.
Right.
Have for ourselves. Myself, I came from very self-employed, limited thinking mindset.
Right.
My first response to anyone asking something was no. Because that was what I grew up with.
Right.
So I've had to replace that with, how can we accomplish this? Something I really pushed on my children, so they learn this growing up. Instead of saying, I can't do something, how can I do this?
Yeah. When I'm coaching, if I'm coaching sports, whether it's tennis, basketball, track, baseball, whatever, like when we do our subsidiary Branco Sports, I tell the kids, I take it very, very serious. Like, we run all practice if they say the C word. The C word is CANT. I literally tell them it doesn't exist in my dictionary. Something can be difficult, but you're going to replace that 4-letter word with I will. So something, and it's so, and the best fulfilling part of it is, for example, a kid, let's say he doesn't know how to use his left hand in the sport, and he's like, Coach, he'll say the C word, we'll just start running. I said, you need to replace that word with I will. And then he starts like, all right, I will, and he still misses, he keeps going. I said, I will, he misses. And then when he finally makes it, the look that he gives to me, like, I actually did it. And then I tell them this one story, and then I'll ask my next question. I always tell them this one story. I say, do you know who invented the light bulb? Some of them would be like, I don't know, Coach. I don't know. Was it Obama? Was it George Washington? I'm like, no. Right. Everybody. So there'll be one kid who does Thomas Edison. They're like, yes, correct. I said, do you know how many tries it took him to I said, do you know how many times it took Thomas Edison to invent the light? I said, and before I tell them the light bulb, I said, the thing that lights up your game room, that lights up the kitchen where your parents cook, right, that lights up, I share that with them. And they go, how many, Coach? How many? Like 1,000 times. They're so surprised. They're like, what? 1,000 times? I said, what if he stopped at try 400? Maybe somebody would have invented light, but it won't be as efficient. I said, that's how failure is. You have to be excited the more we fail, because 400, 500, 600, boom, the light bulb comes on.
We actually have a product in our current environment.
Yeah.
That is, if anyone's heard the product of WD-40, water displacement, on the 40th try, they got it, what they have now.
Wow. Look at that.
People were in that company many years ago. So
wow.
There.
So how can a small business create a brand image that reflects big aspirations?
I may not be the best person to answer that one, from the standpoint of we've come from the commercial honeybee business. And now I'm also working with a group of entrepreneurs that we leverage an existing brand in the marketplace.
Right.
But I will say it is easier today to create a brand and an image because of the tools we have. We have the social media tools.
Yep.
We have these tools sitting in front of us, the cameras, the audio.
Absolutely.
10 years ago, we would have a hard time sitting down and doing this. 20
Sure.
years ago, it'd be a lot. You'd actually have to hire a professional studio
In order to do this.
to do this event. 40 years ago, when I was in what they call junior high school, I was the first class in Santa Barbara, California we had 13 Tandy 64 computers.
Oh my gosh.
Set tape drive next to us.
Wow.
To do some basic programming. So the tools we have, from the cameras, the social media, the connections, the ability to reach people at far distances,
Absolutely,
is much easier. But there's a lot of noise out there. And so what I always, my coaching for people that are doing that area is be as simple and straightforward as
you can. Okay.
Sometimes it's the simple things. I mean, who knew a swoosh on the side of a foot
would
that Nike's logo?
Right.
That didn't happen overnight.
Right.
Phil Knight worked many years for what we in the modern day see Nike as, from when Michael Jordan came into the world of basketball.
Absolutely.
We don't see us from that date Michael Jordan on, from 25 years before.
The jump man.
He was selling shoes out of the trunk of his car.
Wow.
You didn't see that part.
Wow.
So he started a brand actually at that time in the 1970s. Was a local. His reach was local.
Wow.
Wow. To different places. Well, now there's a lot of us that have the reach globally. But I will also caution people, as you do, if you're looking to grow a brand, you want to make sure that you can service your customers. Customers. So don't get too big with your vision without engaging
the customers.
Get your first 10 customers.
Okay.
It's like with coaching with the athletics.
Right.
You got to have a team there to start with.
Right.
Before you
Absolutely.
100 teams that you have in the business system, you have 1 or 2, and then you learn 3 or 4.
Absolutely.
Get that scaling.
Perfect. How can someone distinguish between a business challenge that can be resolved and a business idea that may not be viable?
I have been attending some networking events around the tech industry for the last year and a half.
Okay.
And everyone and brother has the greatest ideas since like
all right.
They're all going to take everybody to
right.
It is very, very difficult to articulate what's going to go with what it does.
Wow.
Now, I will say, if you look at a lot of large corporations over the years that have research and development products, this happens in the marketing world, it happens in the pharmaceutical world. They never know what specific product is going to take off in the market.
Okay.
So what they'll do is they put out 10 of them, find where your 1 or 2 are going to go, and there's an investment there. So
got it.
You have to start with an idea in the first place. You have to be, you can look around and explain it to, in simple terms, to 5 or 6 of your friends.
Right.
And see that there's at least some place to go, head down that path.
Okay.
But
okay.
We'll caution people is you do have to be cautious. Years ago, I was at a business conference for people that were doing patenting their products.
Got it. Okay.
It's a fascinating conversation because the guy gets up on stage. I mean, there's 2,200 people at this conference.
Right.
And he basically, in a very nice way, said, don't get too uptight by what I tell you here in the next few minutes, because a lot of you are not going to let. He said it very funny wise, so I'm not going to read it. Right. Get some things out of the wad because you guys are all too over yourself.
Right.
He said 16% of the products represented here will be accepted in the market. fundamental.
Okay.
And people started to put, my idea is the greatest thing.
16%. Wow. 16%, guys. 16.
But the key thing that he said, he didn't say 16% of your ideas are good. He didn't say 84% of the ideas are bad.
Right.
He said 16% of the products that come out every year, products are accepted in the marketplace.
Accepted. Okay.
Who knew that a pet rock in the 1970s would become $1 million product?
Right.
Sometimes also what happens with products, and you look at the history of Apple, their key with this one is they didn't go from 0 to 5 to 10. They went step by step, because sometimes if the technology is too big, it's just not, if it's too much of a change in the marketplace, it's not because there were originally some better electronics
at the time
by other companies. One thing Apple did so well is they made it consumer friendly, so someone like me that's not
you can figure it out.
Intrinsic for a
okay, so user
challenge person,
user friendly consumable in a sense. Wow, that's brilliant.
If you can explain what your thought is, I'll go back to some fundamentals. You have to be able to explain. You know, you mentioned about learning as a 5-year-old the new.
Right.
If you can explain to someone else in simple terms what your product or idea is,
right,
then you have something doing. If it is so complicated,
then
you go.
Okay. So what mistakes should small business owners avoid when thinking big? What mistakes should small business owners avoid when thinking big?
Do not invest all your money in one channel, in one place.
Oh, I see. Diversify.
You've got it. Here in California, there's some challenges in the business. One of the things California has going for it, our business environment has been challenged in the last couple of years.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the powers that be in California believe every business owner is independently wealthy already. Instead, we're trying
to make it, yeah.
And in that process, most traditional businesses, if you have employees, if you have to rent, lease a space, or if you need things like that, there's a lot of expenses that can be associated with that.
Right.
So what you need to do is back those on down to the minimum that you need to do what you need to do.
Okay.
I mean, if you need to lease an office space, do you go onto the top of the high rise that has the beautiful thing? Or do you operate out of your phone and use the free Wi-Fi at a local coffee shop?
Right.
Go with the latter as long as you can.
Exactly.
And it depends on the purpose of what you're
doing.
Business in.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Our last question of today's episode is, how do you measure success in the early stages while keeping your long-term goals in sight?
How do you measure success early in the business? One of the first things about being successful early in the business, can you take a day off on leave without thinking about your business?
Can you take a day
off? Then can you take Saturday off? Can you actually take, especially if you have a young family, can you take a vacation away from your business?
Wow. Okay.
I saw this with my parents. We had a restaurant seafood business, and it was a major challenge for my dad to take a week away.
Right.
Because it was still a going concern all the time.
Absolutely.
And so
kind of vacation for the family. It's
you also may want to pick some things to as one of those key indicators is, do you have enough money set aside to last the next 12, 18, 24 months without major changes?
Got it. Okay.
That's something that people want to look at.
12 to 18. Okay.
Do they, the time, I'm in my late 50s now.
Okay.
I'm finding the time is more important. I'm sorry, I only look 30, but that's okay.
I thought he was like high 30s, 40s when I met him too, so he surprised me.
30, 28 years of experience.
I like that.
Yeah. If you can be able to, as a business owner, start to do things outside of your business, I think that's one of the first keys to success. I remember when we first started our honeybee business, yes, I did take our family on some vacations, but my mind was not turned off from my business at that time.
I see. So
now, like when we were in Cabo, it was a 4-day trip last month with some leaders in our entrepreneurial.
Oh, okay. You and your wife went.
My wife.
Okay.
I did not, from the moment we left our house, I did not think about my honeybee business at all. Zero.
Wow.
None. Because I know it's handled and it's under control.
Got it. So kind of like getting it to a point where it's operating itself, it's running itself. The allocations, the people who are you put in a position to manage it are, you just trust them that they're got it. Okay.
Very
awesome.
Trust but verify. That's the whole
trust but verify.
I mean, you do have to have some good accounting systems, so make sure
everything's
covered for your business. Understand those accounting situations. It is, especially if you have employees in a growing business, it's good that they know that those verifications are there. Then they cannot be accused of doing something that they didn't do. It's good for all parties involved.
Awesome.
Because then someone can't think that, hey, maybe they're stealing from me.
Wow. That makes sense.
Take that onus off the people.
And kind of create that system. Wow. Larry Pender, guys, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, Larry. We really appreciate having you on the show. I learned a lot. I hope you guys learned a lot. And if you guys have any questions that you want Larry to answer, we'll answer them on the next episode. And we just want to thank the listeners for joining. And you can find more information on us. We're on Instagram as the Presidential Podcast. The title of our show is the Presidential Essential Podcast. We're also on Twitter, also known as X, at Presidential PDC. And we want to encourage you that these episodes will be on the Blessed Branco YouTube channel. So we want to encourage you to subscribe. And
that's that subscribe button.
Absolutely. And Larry, do you have any, if people wanted to contact you and ask you questions, or do you want to share? Do you have an Instagram, a Facebook?
LinkedIn account.
LinkedIn account.
Very
Pending. Yeah.
Always reach me that way.
Absolutely.
Through Blessed.
Exactly.
We'll connect with you.
Absolutely.
I find it's very important to create the environment.
Yeah.
Find the people you want to be around.
Absolutely. And if you're serious about a mentor or want to get advice, whether we feel like you value that and you can earn that mentorship, then I'll connect you to Larry as well.
Who knows, Bless? Maybe you'll invite me back for another podcast.
Absolutely. We're definitely going to do that. It's already done, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Larry.